Hey, this is Matt Cain with the San Francisco Giants, and you guys are listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! Let's go Giants!
Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is TortureCast.
We're standing on top, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. We're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
Welcome, everybody, to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. This is episode 74. We are in the middle of the National League Championship Series. It is tied 1-1, Giants and Cardinals. So far, it's been a pretty epic series, and we got to be feeling somewhat good, even though last night was a crusher. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk about all of the upcoming matchups, where we think this series is going. We're going to, every single time someone makes a good point as well tonight, we're going to do a curtain call, okay? So I want everyone to be aware that curtain calls are okay. You're not going to offend anybody in this forum. Curtain calls every time you make a good point. I'm Willie Dills. Of course, I'm joined by my regular co-host on the TortureCast. Mr. Chad King is here. Welcome, Chad.
You know, I've been creamed by left-handed podcasters the last 3 shows. Yet you guys just keep putting me in there.
We just keep throwing you out there, buddy. We have faith in you, you know? And then, of course, we've got Ben Lee. Welcome back to the show, Ben. We've missed you.
You know, I've missed a little bit of time, so I appreciate that you're still starting Eric in left field and just having me come off the bench for a bit. That's going to be fine.
Well, we figure, just like Michael Morse, you still got some infield hits in you. So we're gonna throw you out there, and we're going to see what you can do.
Michael Morse is the first guy I think of for infield hits.
Exactly. That's what he specializes in. And returning to the show after, he did such a good job last week. We just had to have him back. So, Eric Nathanson, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me again, Willie. Ben, I was likening myself, to Joe Panicmore as the rookie who's just kind of trying to stand there and keep pace and manages to come through every now and then.
If you could take a walk, somehow it turns into a win. Yeah, more often than not, somehow. Yeah.
And single up the middle, single up the middle, single up the middle.
He specializes in the single. He certainly does. All right, so we got a lot to talk about. We have a lot of ground to cover. We talked last week. You know, it's funny. We talked last week about the National Series. At that point, we had won it, and we were moving on, basically, right? And we've only played a couple of baseball games since then, essentially. So it seems like a lot has happened in that brief period of time.
It seems like every inning is now a full game for us in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's 2 games into this National League Championship Series, and I feel exhausted, I got to say. These have been some of the best baseball games, and we kind of expected this. These teams are very evenly matched, the Cardinals and the Giants this year, both now dealing with some injuries as well. So, you know, this is going to be a really, really good series, and it's going to be up in the air. And we actually, you know what we didn't do last week, which I want to do this week before we sign off at the end of the night, is make our predictions on how many games and who wins and everything. We did not actually get to that last week, but we will this week. So let's start off talking about Game 1. We had Bumgarner on the mound, and of course you had the ace for the Cardinals. And Bumgarner proved that he is the ace of all aces in this postseason. 7 2/3 innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, no earned runs. Just another masterful performance. So, Chad, I want to start with you. What are you seeing from this guy? What is he doing that just makes him so special right now in these playoffs? We know he's capable, but
you know, I think he's really starting to develop that playoff pedigree of like a Joe Montana in football. He just seems to always rise to the occasion. He is just nails out on that mound, and he seems to thrive in it no matter what. I mean, he goes to Pittsburgh against that raucous crowd, shuts him down. He did well against the Nationals. He had that one mistake, but that shows his aggression. I mean, he's trying to make the play. He wants to cut off any threat. He wants to cut the head off of the snake. And just like this last game, I mean, he just went in there and absolutely dominated them on the road once again in front of a raucous crowd. And he's just proving it. What is he, like 26 consecutive scoreless innings on the road now? I mean,
Yeah,
the guy is just money. He's almost automatic. And he was great during the regular season, don't get me wrong, but there were many, many games he was hit around quite a bit. In fact, the first half, he had a pretty high batting average against. But, man, in the postseason, it's microscopic. He is just absolutely – and I think it's also clearly the playoff experience for the whole team helps, and that's what everybody's talking about in terms of intangibles. But even as a 21-year-old, in his first postseason, he didn't dominate quite like this, but he certainly did better than I think any 21-year-old could be expected to do. And I think now it's just another day at the park. He knows how important this is, and that he just loses one game or two games, and that could be the season for them. And I think he also knows that they're just relying on him. He's definitely taken the team and put it on his back.
No, absolutely, I agree. I think he's at this point he's a grizzled veteran out there when it comes, even though he's ridiculously young. Was he 24? 23?
Yeah, 20. I think he's 24. Yeah,
24. Okay, so 24.
He was 21 in 2010.
Okay, so maybe 25.
I think he's up to like 25 now.
25.
Okay. Well, he's been around the block.
He's a veteran now.
And
whatever number it is not a very high number.
No, he's got a lot of years left in him, and he's it's crazy to think that you come into the game of baseball, which is a lot of people I don't think give baseball players the credit that's really deserved. Is it's a hard sport to come into at the professional level, no matter how much talent you have. Obviously, you've got some guys, you got your Harpers and your Puigs who come in at very young ages, and their talent can basically sustain them. But then you see them struggle because this is a really difficult game. And when you're learning it at this level, it's very hard. And a lot of guys go to the minors, work some stuff out, figure it all out. Guys like Bumgarner and those guys have come in at very young ages and excelled. So you have to give those guys a lot of credit. They're kind of freaks of nature when it comes to this stuff. Let's also talk about some of the offensive stars that we did have in that game. That game did go 3-0. So the Giants basically, three-run lead for the Giants this postseason has felt pretty insurmountable, which is nice. But we had Sandoval go 3 for 4, and Ishikawa got a couple hits out there in left field as well as a diving catch. So, Ben, I want to get your take on what are you seeing from Sandoval so far this season or in this postseason? He seems to have found something that we need from him, but I think there's a little bit of room for more out of him as well.
I mean, I think with Sandoval, I think we're always going to find that there is room for a little more. Like, I feel like short of the World Series last year, which is sort of like the ultimate Sandoval singularity, I think there's always going to be room just because we've always had kind of these lofty expectations for him because we can see what he's capable of. But what we needed was somebody who was at least going to be a difficult out, and Pablo has not struck out a ton as far as I'm aware during the postseason here.
So far. Yeah, only 6 strikeouts, and he's also taken 3 walks.
Yeah, I mean, he's really, like, I'd like to see his, because last I checked, he had one of the highest pitches per plate appearance on the team for the postseason, I think.
Yeah, he did, which is funny because he's the guy who swung at the most pitches during the regular season, which
right, and
Fox
sort of will be that forever.
Stop telling us, by the way.
Sure,
they love telling us.
Truth. Yeah, I mean, it's really like Sandoval has put it into another gear, but he's not sort of that put the team on his back guy that he has previously, and at the same time, he doesn't need to be that put the team on his back guy if he's the one that's just, trying to keep the lineup from turning over or getting on base or moving guys over or, taking advantage of miscues. And he's been doing that as well as anybody else in the lineup, if not a little better. So I mean,
he's been very consistent for sure.
Sandoval is absolutely not the person you look at and go, this has been the issue. That's because we remember 2010 when that was the case.
Yeah.
It's nice to kind of look at it and go, look, he's not the one who's driving the team, but darned if he's, being absolutely effective as well.
I agree 100%. I think the issue right now for the Giants offensively, though, there's a couple things. Runners in scoring position has been a problem. We're going to talk about that a little later. Yeah, but the other issue, too, is that the table is not being set by the top of our lineup necessarily. It's actually being set by Buster Posey and Pablo Sandoval.
True.
So if you notice...
I'll say Joe Panik has had his moments, but, and Gregor Blanco has had a couple as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, Blanco has had a couple of really crucial moments, but not at the level that you expect from a leadoff hitter starting the game. No,
absolutely. And when you look at it, Pablo's scored 5 runs. He has only 1 RBI. And him and Buster Posey over the entire postseason are leading the team in hits with 10 apiece, both hitting .313 as well. Pablo actually has found a little bit of power. He's got 3 doubles as well. So, but these guys are getting on, and then it's Brandon Belt who's actually driving the runs in. He's got 6 RBIs to lead the team in the postseason. So it's kind of an interesting. We've shifted our lineup kind of. Rather than starting at the top, we're starting at the 3 hole, and then our 6-7 guys are the ones driving the runs in. So when you look at that and you realize why the Giants are struggling to score. And I mean, Eric, do you agree? Like, where are we really missing offensively? Because right now it doesn't seem like we're clicking on all cylinders. That's for sure.
Well, and everything's scattered. They can put together 2-3 hits. The other part of it is they're a station-to-station baseball team. Nobody is getting, good jumps or going first to third on anything. And between just in these 2 games, the only extra base hits is Pablo's had 2 doubles and Ishii had his 1. Nobody else has extra base hits. So nobody's driving runners past 1 base at a time. They're going station to station. And then you run into somebody like Crawford, who's 0 for 7 in these first 2 games, who, has kind of been a hole there. Blanco did a couple of things, and even Posey, he's only been 1 for 9 in the first couple of games in this series specifically.
That's true.
Sandoval is 4 for 9. He's the only one coming around. So they're just so station to station that nobody's moving the runners around at all, which is why it feels like they're always threatening but never driving it in, because it takes 4 hits to score 1 freaking run.
Yeah, it's tough to score when it takes that many hits.
We're not seeing a lot of extra base power for sure.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of speed either, so it's it's rough.
Well, and Blanco isn't getting on base to make use of the speed that we have.
Exactly.
Our best base runner this series has been Matt Duffy.
Yeah, with his 1 opportunity to run the bases, it was
a good one.
Yeah, it was a very good one. It's very true. Fortunately, in a losing effort, it was probably the most exciting moment we've had in the postseason. I pretty much lost my shit. Let's talk real quick about the balk. Did he balk? Did Bumgarner balk? Yeah, absolutely balked.
Yeah, he balked.
Oh, he balked.
He balked.
Yeah. I'm confused as to why that didn't get called. I have no idea how that couldn't.
Because Bob Davidson and Joe West weren't on the umpiring crew?
Well, honestly, it happened so fast. As somebody who's called many a balks in his life, it happened so fast because it was just a little twitch that it looked like Bumgarner could have stepped off clean.
Sure.
And you wouldn't have seen the one foot move before the other because you're trained on the back foot until the front foot moves, basically. So if you didn't see the front foot move, you would have thought that the back foot coming off was the first motion anyways, and they just missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks so obvious from the center field camera, right? But
exactly.
Totally see why you'd miss it from. Now, Eric, you're an umpire. The plate umpire is not the only one who calls a balk, right? Anybody can call the balk.
Oh yeah, anybody could have called it. That's why I say everybody's kind of focusing in on the pitcher, and then you follow the ball towards the plate. That's how you're trained to be when you're out in the bases. So all the umpire's eyes should have been on Madison Bumgarner at that moment. So that's why they literally all just happened to miss it because it happened too quick.
All 6 of them, because in the playoffs you got 2 guys down there as well. So
drinking coffee.
Although that would have been pretty fun to watch an umpire down the line call a balk from way out in left field.
Balk called by the left field umpire.
Here. That was a balk, man.
We have a replay review. New York is calling in for a challenge on a balk.
So Eric, you would know this one too then. Where is the line umpires, the ones in the actual outfield, where are they looking on a pitch?
That one I don't know. Honestly,
line umpires are such an uncommon thing.
Yeah, I've never worked past the 4-man crew. We never trained anything over a 4-man crew. I can only imagine that they. I mean, because you can't see much from back there until the ball gets to you anyway.
No, you're really only there to make sure that the fouls and fair balls are really called correctly and that home runs and catches are called correctly.
I wish I could remember back. Did they used to have these guys before the whole Jeffrey Mayer thing?
I don't think so.
They've
I thought
had,
this is pretty new.
No, they've had extra umpires. I remember back in the 80s in the playoffs.
Oh, they did? Okay. Huh. I wonder when that started because it is weird. It's like, I mean, I guess I can see there's less games, but there's still all the umpires who want to work. So
that was the other thing. It's a way to reward guys, and that's another way to reward 2 extra guys per crew and give them playoff shares and stuff like that. So it's probably part of the old boys. Let's get some guys out there.
Oh, and don't forget now, 1 extra umpire per crew is actually handling umpiring duty or replay duties.
Yeah, they're rotating it.
They're rotating that. That was crazy to me. Phil Cuzzy flew out after Game 2 to go to New York to become the replay umpire, and I don't remember who was doing replay on that side, but he.
Maybe?
Tim Emmons, I think. He flew out. Tim it might have been Paul Emmons, I think. But he flew back out from New York all the way out to San Francisco because he had done his one game in the umpiring slot. So they're using the umpiring slot as a rotation, just like third base, home plate, first base, left. That just blows my mind.
That's crazy. That just seems like just have one guy be the specialist at this, and that's fine. We don't need to do that. Well, whatever. I'm glad that the extra umpires are out there. I'm glad that the replay is in place this season. There have been some plays that they went the correct way, and especially in the postseason, you want to get that shit right. So, all right, let's move on to game 2. Game 1, pretty uneventful as far as excitement goes. I mean, it's obviously really great to watch the Giants pull one out, especially so far winning game 1. We got that covered, right? Which hopefully we continue that all the way through the World Series, because that's a really important game, especially when you're playing that game on the road. So, you kind of get your main job accomplished when you win game 1. Game 2 is kind of gravy.
Turnaround from 2012.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I remember going to game 1 for the NLDS in 2012. Very different.
No, yeah. But game 2 was, I'm going to go ahead and throw it, maybe one of the most exciting games I've ever watched as far as playoffs are concerned. I mean, we've seen some really good ones, but this was so back and forth, so close. The agony was real. The jubilation was real. I was crushed. I was excited. I was screaming in my living room. My roommate, who doesn't really give a crap about baseball, was on the edge of his seat, and me and him both freaked out when Duffy scored that run. This game kind of had it all, and it was, a really special game. It's really unfortunate when the Giants come out on the losing end of it, obviously, but it's going to go down as one of those games that a lot of people are going to remember. And I remember reading a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, the Giants and Cardinals in the friggin' NLCS again. This is going to be so boring. These teams are not exciting to watch." Well, all those people can fucking suck it now, because that was one of the most exciting games you're ever going to see in a postseason.
No, I mean, you really never know how the Giants are going to score the runs.
No,
because honestly,
a mystery how they're doing it at all.
It is the least predictable thing. Also, the Cardinals not really hitting home runs this year. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, they had 25% of their runs scored in the season were home runs, and now 75% essentially. Right. The playoffs have been home runs. But anyway, so 4 home runs in the game, all solo shots. Chad, what the hell's going on, man? How are they doing this?
It's 4 mistakes.
Yeah? So you don't think
chalk it up
no
to.
Credit to the Cardinals. It's the Giants.
Yeah, clearly if we went up there and they threw a mistake, we'd hit it out of the park too. Yeah, no doubt. No, look, they analyzed each one of those 4 pitches, and we all saw them live and everything like that, but they really broke them down and showed where Buster Posey was calling for the ball.
Yeah.
And all 4, which was obvious anyway, were just clear mistakes, and they just floated right back across the plate. Pitch selection was also a little questionable.
Sure.
I know I have some notes in here. We can talk about some of it right now, but one that I had was Romo's changeup in the 9th, which was the walk-off. I'm not going to get down on him, but that was the first changeup he threw in the postseason. Granted, it's only 3 2/3 innings so far, and that is what he was working on all spring training. If you recall, he was lit up like a Christmas tree in spring training, and it was mostly because of that changeup.
Yeah, he was really trying to force the issue with it.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, "Look, I'm trying to work on this. This is the time to work on it. It's okay if they hit him out of the park. It's spring training. I'm going to make the team. That's not the issue." He needed another weapon versus left-handed batters. He can't rely on a slider, and his fastball is, below average at best. So
but it does tail away from lefties, though.
Yeah, exactly. He needed that movement. Unfortunately, Buster called for it outside, and it floated the other way, and it went right in the heat of the zone. And Wong isn't a power hitter, but he killed the Dodgers in the previous round. He's just one of those players. Every postseason series, there's always the unlikely hero that kind of comes up, and so far, Colton Wong has kind of been that guy for the Cardinals.
Absolutely,
so he had a magical moment, and it sucked because I completely thought Panda was going to break the game wide open, or the Cardinals were going to make a mistake there in the 9th inning. But when Romo came in, I said, "Oh my God, I hope this is not another one of those 18-inning." Oh, never mind, it's not.
Yeah,
go 18 innings.
Well, I was halfway rooting for the 18-inning game at that point because I knew we needed extras to win. We didn't get the job
down, right?
Top. So we're going to have to do it in extra. So it's like, we'll get through this. I feel much better with the fact that we can go to Petit and they don't really have the guy like that to go to. So I was like, if that's how it goes, that's how it goes. I'm good with it. But yeah, it was 3 of the home runs were basically on balls that were not up in the zone, but just basically knee high that floated in. And they were able to just kind of golf them out to that little right-hand corner that down the right field line. The one that who was it? The Strickland one that gave up.
Adams,
yeah. So the one Adams hit was a like a belt high fastball that he just crushed. So, but all the other ones were basically like just above the knees, but moved in. So kind of hit the power zones for those guys.
Well, the Giants relief staff has 24 2/3 innings so far this entire postseason.
Yeah.
And they've given up only 7 earned runs. Every single one of them a solo shot. 7 home runs.
And 4 of them on the
Rook.
Card. Yeah. So, there's been a lot of like knee jerk about this stuff. Okay,
there always will be.
This guy. Yeah, there always will be. We shouldn't have put in this guy there. This guy sucks. We should just get rid of this guy. Overall, you have to give the bullpen a ton of credit. And guys that were getting praised after 18 innings, 13 of them being on the bullpen, are now getting shit all over because they suck, apparently. And I just want to point out to Giants fans, like, you can't in the game of baseball, you can't just look at the last thing that a guy did. Everybody's going to get humbled by this game at some point. Every pitcher's going to give up a home run. Every batter's going to swing and miss at a pitch that they should have hit. Their eyes get big and they miss it anyway. Everybody's going to have those moments. And it just so happened that we had 4 of them in one game, and it's painful, But I don't think that the Cardinals are going to hit 4 home runs again the rest of the way. I mean, Eric, are you what was your reaction watching that game? And at the end, like, who did you put the blame on anybody? What was as a fan? I mean, you've been a fan for a long time, but you're a realistic person. How did you feel about the performance of the Giants?
First of all, I don't think the Cardinals are going to hit 4 total home runs the rest of the way, even in San Francisco. I don't see that happening. It's funny when the more I've been looking at this, just listening to you guys talk, I've been at the bottom of Baseball Reference for the box score. Hunter Strickland, if we'll all remember, came in an inning previously and for some reason picked off John Jay with 2 strikes with Matt Holliday standing at the plate. And then he went in, and the Giants came out and got mowed by Pat Neshek, and then Strickland came out. I'm starting to wonder if sitting down Strickland after getting him hot and the Giants batting, if that also might have had something to do with it as far as his location missing, because it was his that, to me, was the game changer of all the home runs.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with that. Him giving that run up, you think about how the game would have been different. I mean, essentially, the Giants would have been winning in the 9th inning. That would have just been a game-tying home run to Wong. And also, you get that guy out, and you're looking at 2 righties that then Strickland basically blew away after that. So, that was the big turning point.
Yeah, I was just like Chad, though. It was like, okay, Paulo's going to break this open here. I thought something was going to happen. They were going to make a mistake, and then they didn't. And all of a sudden, you get in your mindset, let's go to extras. I tweeted out the stat. Sergio had like 10 previous appearances without a run in the postseason or something like that. And 2 minutes later, the game was over, and it was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'd seen a lot of Romo hate, so I decided to dig back because, he lost his job as the closer this year. We're all aware that he blew a lot of starts around the middle of the season. But in the last 2 months of the season, he gave up 2 earned runs. And it wasn't like he wasn't pitching. He was pitching. One of them was a home run to Miguel Cabrera, which was kind of like a revenge home run almost. Like Cabrera was just kind of going, all right, you got me that one time. I'm not going to let that happen again. It almost felt like that. Then the other was, I can't even remember what, but over that period of time, he also had 20 strikeouts to 1 walk. And he just was back to being Romo. So to not have faith in him in that spot, I think is crazy. I think for anybody to say that he shouldn't have been the guy to come out, we didn't have lefties left. We didn't have any more lefties. So I don't know who the hell they're thinking that we're going to throw out there. These
guys crying about it. Romo was still the setup guy anyway, even after he lost his closer job.
If we have the lead, it's Casilla who comes in.
Yeah, and I heard some people, calling for Casilla, but you don't usually bring in your closer in a tie game because that means unless you grab the lead in the 10th and he can go a second inning, you got to have Romo or Lincecum or someone else close the game out.
Yeah.
And they were forced in that situation with Strickland earlier against the Nationals, and that's how Strickland got his one save. But it was a situation where I didn't have a problem with it. I really didn't. I mean, Casilla, yeah, it could have been a different story. He could have given up a home run too. We don't know. We just don't know.
No.
And all these armchair quarterbacks with 20/20 vision, it's starting to tick me off. But you're always going to hear the Boo Birds come out. You lose one game by one run. And one of the biggest things as a fan I took away from this game is on kind of right away, I was like, oh, what a soul-crushing defeat. But I still had this remnant of elation from the way the Giants just didn't give up. They were down 2-0. They went ahead 3-2. They were down 4-3. They tied it up with Panic had an 0-2 count.
Yeah, and he worked the walk and then the wild pitch.
And then the magic happened.
Yeah.
And, look, sometimes their magic is going to be there, and it's just not quite enough. And the Cardinals baseball devil magic, whatever they're calling it now, came out in the ninth inning.
Devil magic,
but I think it's one of those games where some people, this is going to be a soul-crushing loss. No, it's not.
No, not at all.
Not
to
all.
mention,
especially
too, that
since
Blanco,
you have an off day in between and you're flying back home.
Yeah, not to mention, too, that Blanco had a hard-hit ball that just happened to go right at Peralta there. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened completely different. And Ben, what was your feeling at the end of the game? Did you feel crushed? Was your soul crushed, Ben?
I mean, for an instant.
Yeah, of course. All of us for an instant.
There was a temporary crushing. It was more of a stress ball crush than I think it was a brick wall crush. I mean, you saw that you had just tied the game. You roll into the next half inning and you go, okay, let's check. Oh.
Yeah,
it was
pretty
so
quick.
fast. It was so fast that it was very deflating that way because you get all the wind just pulled right out of your sails right after you're like, okay, we just gotta just do that thing that we've been doing a lot where we can just hold the game at a tie, and that just didn't happen, and there it is, and nope, that ball's going really far, and okay, then Colton Wong have a game. I mean. So I was disappointed. I was a little distracted. I had some friends over at the house, and we were doing a couple of things, including keeping an eye on the game. But it just sort of like you look at it for a moment, and you're bummed. You're definitely bummed, and then you kind of go, "But holy crap, that game! Like that was a razor's edge game. That entire game, that entire time felt like a razor's edge game because you didn't know it could have gone either way because both teams were playing." The Giants were playing well, and the Cardinals were hitting well and playing poorly. So, I mean, it was interesting because each side sort of brought its own different things to the table. You had moderately okay pitching on the Cardinals side, moderately okay defense with a couple of just bad luck balls, and awesome offense for the most part. And then on the Giants side, you had kind of crappy offense, but just right in just the right places. Very clean defense. And not bad pitching. Certainly, PV getting out of some crazy jams.
Just a few mistakes here and there, but die hard at bats.
A few mistakes in the pitching and no mistakes in the defense. And so, in a way, both teams really got punished for a couple of mistakes in what's otherwise been some pretty rock solid play for the most part. It's just that the Cardinals' mistakes have been more evident as mistakes, whereas the Giants' mistakes have been more evident as Cardinals' offense.
I almost feel, in a way, like that game was won by the home field advantage. In a way. The team that got to do it last was the team that got to win,
Kind of like a football game, whoever gets the ball last scores type thing.
Yeah, sure. Like you score and then you give the other quarterback a minute and a half and then he just marches down the field and scores. So if that game was being played at AT&T Park, first of all, a lot of those home runs aren't home runs. But second of all, I think, the Giants get the last licks and we get the last bit of magic.
Well, I mean, the other part of it is too, and my reaction, right at the end of the game, was, it was bound to happen. Because if we look at how the Giants have been in this postseason, they've been in a slump the whole postseason. That they're managing to win ball games. They were bound to lose a game where they had to claw and scratch and get these runs and fight for it. They're bound to lose one of these.
And the one game where the bullpen finally decided to make a couple of mistakes. I mean, you sit there and you say, "Well, I hope they all got it all out of their system at one time," because honestly, that bullpen has been solid. The bullpen has been lights out for this team, especially like Yusmeiro Petit, 6 innings in relief, and a couple of other, there's so many different notable moments bullpen wise on this team right now that was the first hit Javier Lopez has allowed since 2010 in the postseason.
It's true. It seems to me that some of the fans seem to expect that these bullpen guys are supposed to come in and never give up a hit. And it's just never going to be.
Well, I mean, you kind of have to expect that. At the same time, when it happens, you kind of have to go, well, there's the one. hope they all got it out of their system in one game at the same time, as opposed to spreading it out over 3 or 4 one-run leads.
Yeah, I want to point something out too that I saw, which is a video after that game of Jake Peavy playing guitar, and all the Giants, Pablo on, I think it was harmonica,
Mm-hmm.
and all the Giants around singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at the airport as they were getting ready, and not just like a few of them. I mean, it was about 10 or 15 of them, including
I'm
guys.
Gonna need the link to this video.
Oh, you haven't seen this yet, then?
No.
Yeah, you got to check this out.
I have not been on
It's
Twitter
pretty
nearly as much
sweet.
as I'd like this week.
You know what you should actually do, Chad, at the end of this episode? Maybe like just
Throw that in there.
throw that in there. Yeah, because it's pretty special. Yeah, I mean, of course you got like the Flan Man in there, but it just shows the kind of unity of this team. That they suffered an incredibly tough loss, and what do? They're hanging out singing in the airport that night on the way getting ready for the flight back to San Francisco. So I'm bummed that we lost this game. I'm not. There's no doom and gloom happening right now, though, for me.
They're fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of baseball left. I don't think anybody expected that we were going to sweep this series, and I'm really looking forward to this game 3. So as we move in to talk about the upcoming games, let's start talking about some of the big questions. And I think the biggest question is we all talked about the Pablo at bat. You've got bases loaded. The guy's thrown 6 balls in a row, and granted, I think Pablo was looking. It was 2-0. He was looking for a fastball, and he got it. I'm not mad at him for swinging at that, but you want a guy to go up there and let a guy dig a hole deeper. Keep digging that hole, right? But Pablo's an aggressive hitter. He's going to try to take advantage of a mistake. He gets the pitch he wants. It's up. It just happens to be a little bit on the outside, and he fouls it away. But he hit it good. He hit it hard.
Panda's been hot. Don't get me wrong. He's been over 300.
Well,
They're all
he's been
struggling.
surprisingly patient.
Yeah, and he has. But I think to an inferior hitter, third base coach is giving him the take sign until you get a strike, especially after Rosenthal. He seemed rattled, and it silenced the crowd. Yeah. And he threw that last ball in the dirt, then 2 straight balls to Panda. I mean, if this game was at AT&T Park, the fans would have been on their feet. I'm just a little surprised that he didn't exercise a little more caution because it wasn't down the middle. I mean, that's a thing.
It was ball 3, and it would have just been insane amounts of pressure going into the next pitch.
Yeah, you put the pressure squarely on the pitcher. You don't give him an opportunity to sneak out of this by going outside of your zone. You just don't do that, and that really frustrated me.
That was probably the second or third time I think I'd seen, and despite the fact that he's ground out some long at bats, he's just really waited on the right pitches. That was, I think, the second or third time that game that I can remember seeing Pablo swing at what would have been a ball on the outside. Yeah, he expands his zone out that way because he can reach them.
Yeah, he was definitely being aggressive, and it's hard to fault Panda for being aggressive because he's successful when he's aggressive too.
Right, and he's still been, when he tries to take the patient approach, it doesn't always work out for them, and yet somehow this postseason he's been more patient than I think I can recall him seeing in a postseason in a long time.
Yeah,
so it's a strange
next guy up though in that situation. Like Brandon takes a walk every single time.
Brandon's got 3 this series. We've only gone in 2 games.
Yeah, it's just the exact kind of wrong guy for that at bat necessarily. And Pablo has now had a few at bats with the bases loaded and hasn't come through yet. So the law of averages states that he's due. I'm just going to put that out there. So far, the Giants in this postseason, 14 for 71 with runners in scoring position. There's a couple of notable things about this. Not only the notable thing that they're batting 197, so under the Mendoza line with runners in scoring position, pretty bad. But the other thing to note about this is that they've gotten 71 at bats with runners in scoring position in this postseason. They're getting guys on, and they're doing it at a pretty consistent pace. So that's a positive. You got to think. And Eric, back me up here. You got to think that this is not going to hold. Giants will hit the league average by the end of this if they play enough games, which is somewhere around like 240, 250?
Well, you'd have to hope, but it goes back to the other thing. They've left 19 guys on base in 2 games.
Yeah.
They were 5 for 20 in these 2 games with runners on scoring position. The problem is 250. That's not horrible, but it's the station to station thing again. They need somebody like those at bats you're talking about with Sandoval. They need somebody to have a bust open kind of swing that scores multiple runs and gets everybody going. That seems to be the thing that ignites them. I wonder if Bochy's going to mess with the lineup a little bit finally.
Yeah, actually, that's what was going to be one of my armchair manager questions, and we might as well just go into it now.
Good lead in.
Do we alter this lineup? Like, what do we change? Like, Chad, what do you think we change to change this statistic? This is pretty abysmal.
It's rough. You look up and down the lineup, and you have Pablo, even though he's hitting over 300, he's 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. You have Blanco, who's been completely weak, and he did have that line drive in the 9th inning. He's 1 for 9. Crawford, 1 for 8. That was the grand slam. Panic, 1 for 7. Ishii, 1 for 7. Pence, 1 for 6. That's one guy they really need to rely on to knock them in. Posey's 2 for 7. Pedestrian, 2 for 7. Brandon Bettle's the only one doing really well. He's 4 for 8 so far. And then you throw in 2 other guys. You get Michael Morse's infield single, which didn't drive in a run. That counted as a hit with runners in scoring position.
Sure.
And Ryan Vogelsong's bunt, believe it or not, because he had first and second. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he's 1 for 1. So 2 out of those 14 hits was a busted bat infield single and a bunt.
Right.
So they were
I should
hits
point out
in scoring position that didn't score the runs.
Yeah. So they're
Brandon
actually
Belt's
hitting a little less than 197 when you really look at it.
Brandon Belt's actually 2 for 4 because he's got 3 walks. So
No, he's saying with runners in scoring position through
with
the whole
scoring
playoffs.
through the entire
Throughout the
playoffs.
entire
playoffs,
playoffs,
yeah.
not just the
I have
series. I'm
the,
looking
sorry.
the entirety. Yeah.
I've got the NLCS stats up in front of me, so I've been looking more closely at that.
Yeah, overall postseason, Brandon Belt has been the
Okay.
only guy who's consistently been able to do it. So, all right, so Chad,
Good for him.
armchair manager time. What do you do? How do you alter this lineup? How do you mix things up? Is there anything that you do?
Do you guys know where Michael Morse is right now? Because even though he hasn't played since September 19th, and Ishii hasn't been bad, don't get me wrong, and his defense has actually been solid out there, and he's hitting okay in the postseason, but he has that power threat, and I'm just wondering if you need to add Morse back in there, and instead of off the bench. And I don't know if that's going to be a detriment, because his defense is inferior to Ishii's, even though he's only started like 10 career games in left field.
Yeah.
But, you can pull him out for the late inning defensive replacement anyway with Perez or someone else. I don't know. I don't know if you really want to shake it up too much, except Blanco at the top. He is just not doing so well. And I'm wondering if you want to go back to an old school lineup with Hunter Pence hitting leadoff.
Yeah, I mean, the Hunter Pence hasn't been hitting for power or anything like that. So he has been doing what he does, which is legging balls out and hitting them on the ground and just being the hustle ball player that he is. But I don't really know if I want to move him out, because I don't want to thin the lineup out in that way. I wouldn't mind doing something like maybe Panic leadoff and Belt second or something like that, where you basically shift up, and rather than because Blanco can't do what a leadoff hitter can do unless he can get on base, right? So at least Panic seems to be able to get on base, and then maybe he doesn't steal as many bases, but yeah, you then have the table set for the guys to then start getting some hits behind him.
I think Bochy's afraid to move the rookie around, though, because, it's like he took so long to be an accepting manager of rookies that I think he kind of treats them with a little bit of kid gloves and feels like Panic's comfortable there. What would you guys think about moving Belt up to the 3 hole and shifting everybody down? Posey 4, Sandoval 5, Pence 6, and then Crawford, Ishikawa instead of necessarily Morse. I know that doesn't solve the Blanco problem, but at least there'd be 3 lefties off the bat with Blanco,
keeps your core together, though, yeah.
And Belt, exactly. And Belt I've said it on this show before, you should hit your best hitter third. Belt's been their best hitter so far.
No, it's very true. I would like to see, too, the splitting up of the lefties. And right now we've got the double lefty going for most of the games. And it just makes it so in those late innings they're able to just put a lefty in for 2 hitters and stuff. And
well, and that would actually make it a triple lefty, the first 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That would be
we have one at the bottom right now anyway.
Yeah. But if you go Blanco and Panic and you keep that, if that's not shifting, then you maybe do start Morse and you put him in 7, and then maybe you just rely on that 3 through 7 to maybe do some work. Because right now I can't figure out where they're going to find these runs. It's just a little bit tough to look at any of these guys and go, this guy's going to do it. It's we're like anybody who comes up, I'm just hoping for a base hit, and that's just the top of my expectation at this point. And that's a little bit crappy, because you want to be seeing guys hit for power, hitting the gaps, hitting balls out every now and then, doing play baseball, not just singles up the middle. So It's tough, and I don't know what the
Loops
answer
and dinks
is.
and
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but the Giants are going to be able to scratch out runs forever and win games.
They're not striking out a lot. So, I mean, that's the thing is they are working pitch counts. It's that law of averages you were almost talking about earlier. You know, they're working pitch counts is how it should balance. They've only struck out 7 for 11 times in 80 guys going to the plate so far against the Cardinals. And these are the Giants that sometimes swing and miss all the time, and that we see them go through like 2-3 week funks.
right. I mean, they're not all Marco Scutero here.
No, not all. But they suddenly are because Joe Panic struck out for his first time in the playoffs last night. I mean, that guy may not be putting the ball in play except to roll it over, but he's putting the ball in play every time. I think that's where that law of averages settles out because I just suddenly looked down at the number and all I can see is this guy's only struck out once. This guy's only struck out once.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And that actually speaks to the fact that people say, oh, the Giants are getting lucky. Well, they're putting the ball in play, and the other team is forced to play defense. So call it what you want, but when you put the ball in play, good things can happen. So, all right, next armchair manager question is, what is Bochy doing here with Strickland, and why is he doing it, and is it going to continue, and what the hell is happening? Let's start with you, Ben. I don't understand why he's getting so much action right now. And in the inning that the lefty on the opposing team is coming up. I don't know.
I think part of the issue is I don't know that we got to, as much as I like the guy, I don't know if we got a good enough look at him to really start determining matchup questions during the regular season. And so I think, because honestly, Strickland's not a bad pitcher. I mean, there's a ton of talent and there's a ton of raw stuff there, but the question is there something that he's tipping? Is there something that is he just making location mistakes? And because, this has happened a couple of times, and it's, I don't know. I feel like Strickland is actually one of those potential late inning weapons. It's just that we have other decent, stronger, and more proven weapons on the bench. But every time that I've clamored for a rookie starting over a vet, and that hasn't happened, it's hard for me to look at that and say, okay, well, on second thought, I totally take that back. It's like Strickland is good, but now that he's shown a couple of times, like we thought that it was just Harper that had his number for a minute.
That's lefties, yes, power hitting lefties.
It's, and for now at least, it may be power hitting lefties. I mean, this is the kind of thing that Lopez was a both sides guy in 2010, and he's really kind of cut down to being a left side guy in 12 and 14 as a specialist. Whereas Affeldt, we saw him used more often as kind of more of a lefty guy in 10, and he's really evolved into being a lefty-righty guy. Strickland could go either way. But the question is, do you let him run out that rope now? Because Bochy clearly has some faith in Strickland's ability to pitch, and quite frankly, so do I. It's just that you want to try and at least get to see him in at least one lower leverage situation look good against a lefty before you start getting back into let's keep throwing him in the hot water stuff.
I think the rope is burned. I think we're done, personally. And I'm usually a guy who's like pretty positive when it comes to stuff like this, but I think
yes and no.
4 home runs in the postseason is enough to say we don't need to continue to test this guy on this stage at this point in his career.
Well, you know how many left-handed at-bats he's had?
How many?
Against him? 7.
Okay.
I mean, 4 for 7 with 4 bombs. I agree with you, Willie. I think that the rope is burned, and at this point, don't get me wrong, everything's high leverage, high pressure situations so far in these games, except for maybe the Pirates game. But I think right now, under no circumstances can Bochy put Strickland in against a left-hander if the tying run or go-ahead run is at the plate. You just can't.
No, not at all. Not at all. And obviously he's on the roster for the rest of this series at least. So we will have to find ways to use him. But at this point, he's a right-handed specialist in my eyes. Eric, what are your thoughts on this? Like,
you guys covered it. Yeah, you guys covered it. That's what he is. He's a righty specialist for one guy out of the pen. And even it's weird. His pitching against Ian Desmond with the bases loaded last series, I had more confidence in him facing that right-handed batter with the bases loaded than I do seeing him against a left-handed hitter now.
Yeah, lefty with the bases empty. I don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe if they move on, Contos comes aboard.
That could be a possibility. I mean, the thing is we're all very excited for him to come in and kind of like prove his mettle and closer to the future type of thing. But I just
maybe
don't
next
think
year.
Yeah, just he's not ready, and he might be ready next year, and that might be amazing. But at this point, at this time, you could kind of ruin this kid if you keep letting him go out there and just keep giving him jacks.
It's kind of the risk of what people were worried about with like even like Colton Wong last year when he got picked off, and everybody kind of said, "Oh no, well some people said he's going to bounce back, and some people got really upset about it, and you have the potential to really turn him into a complete GOAT for the series, or you have the potential for him to come back and have a moment of redemption, or you have the potential for you to say this is just not the time."
No, it's just you don't,
especially when you've got a good bullpen up and down.
You don't figure this stuff out at this level.
This isn't what the Cards bullpen looks like right now, because honestly, the Cards bullpen isn't. It's looking shaky. It's not.
Yeah, they got
terrible.
One guy right now that they're feeling good about.
Sure, I mean it's not terrible, and I mean you've even got like the weapons out of the bullpen that are unexpected, like Michael Wacha, who honestly will probably do some damage to us at some point in this series, but. It's not sort of it's like with what happened with the Dodgers bullpen. You put in which guys. Well, Mattingly looks at his bullpen and goes, "I really should leave Kershaw in here. This really is a better idea, to be honest."
Anybody, yeah. So I think, I think the thing that's going on with Strickland, honestly, to me, is that while he might have a breaking pitch, everybody knows the fastball is coming at some point, and they're just willing to sit and wait for it. And that's exactly what Adam said. He said, "I knew it was coming. I just waited for it. And once I got it, I teed off on it." And that's what all the pitchers are going to do until he can prove that he can do some other things with the ball. And major league hitters, especially guys, power hitting lefties, they don't care how fast you throw it. If it's straight, they're going to hit it.
Well, that was also the reason why Bryce Harper went off in the dugout. He looked like a man possessed.
Yeah.
And he was staring him down as he ran the bases, and he was yelling at him from the dugout. It's because he was jacked. He knew it was coming, and he knows that this kid has kind of got a big ego on him. And I shouldn't say that, but he knew he was going to challenge him again. He had already.
Well, he's a fastball pitcher who throws that's his best pitch. He's going to throw it.
Yeah, and he already bombed him once, and he was just waiting for a second time. Like, go ahead and throw that cheese again, Rook. Go ahead, up there. There it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just sit there and wait for it, and when you see it, it's got to have perfect location on it, or else they're gonna do what they do. All right, so I think we're all pretty much in agreement. It's time to move on from this kid, and let's not ruin him, because we all still see a future in this guy. All right, so the next question is, and we all talked about on the last podcast that Bochy is a guy who manages the bullpen very well. In this game, he made some questionable decisions, and Chad, you put this in the notes, and this is one thing that I actually did want to talk about was, why didn't Lopez come in to face Taveras? Because the next guy was going to be a lefty anyway, right? Wasn't the next two guys actually going to be lefties? Wasn't it? I mean, it would have been three lefties in a row.
Exactly.
So to me, it seems like that's exactly when you use Lopez. What do you think? Chad, if you're Bochy, what is the mindset that makes you not do that? Is there anything that we can say to explain this move?
Taveras is their touted prospect. He's burned the Giants earlier in the season. Doesn't hit for high average, but he certainly hits for power. And in a game that close, with Lopez up in the pen, with the lefties coming up, I was sitting incredulous on my couch going, I don't understand this. Is Lopez not ready? Does he have to go to the bathroom? I'm like,
well, he came up earlier in the
Lopez
game, right?
Get up earlier on.
Yeah. So I was just trying to figure out in that moment, why is Machi in against Taveras? Because they could get burned here. And I mean, right when he hit the home run, I was just cursing at my television, going, Bochy, man, I have agreed with almost every single move you've made, but this is
and that was to tie the game at 3, right? So we were up 3-2 at that point.
Yes, I believe so, right? Yeah, because Strickland gave up the home run that went up 4-3.
Yeah, it was. So at that point, that tied it at 3. Then Strickland's made it 4-3, and then Romo's made it 5-4. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things, and I actually didn't hear any post game comments if he was asked that question by any of the media, but I do wonder if you guys heard anything, because 24 hours later, I'm still trying to figure out that non-move.
I did not. Eric, did you hear anything?
No, I didn't hear anything. It makes you wonder too. Why didn't Bochy just stick with trying to throw Lopez out there for the 7th, Romo for the 8th, and Casilla for the 9th? By not putting Lopez out there and by sending Machi out there, he put out the domino that sent the rest of the game the way it did.
Yeah, because it ended up they got one home run in each of those innings. It's going to be really, really hard to win a game when you do that.
And with a kid like Tavares, don't you want to give him some guy that's just going to mystify him? And Lopez would mystify me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you're lefty and you're a young lefty, especially, and a guy comes in and throws from that arm angle and throws the kind of stuff that Lopez throws, that's a rough at bat. And we did not give him the chance to do what he does so well, which is get those kind of guys out. And honestly, too, Lopez doesn't give up home runs to lefties, so you're kind of safe from that. The only thing you really maybe do is
rare.
guy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was a head scratcher. Hopefully Bochy has kind of learned his lesson. What we don't need to see from Bochy is him being stubborn about guys. And right now I feel like he's being stubborn about Strickland. I feel like he's being stubborn about a few other spots. And we know that he's supposed to be the manager who wins us games. And it could be that we saw him lose a game for us there. So we hope we don't see that again. All right, let's get happy here. We just talked about some stuff that's not very happy. It's time to get happy. Let's talk about favorite guys. Chad, we'll start with you. Favorite guy.
He's had a limited role so far, but man, that was one of the most exciting plays last night, watching Matt Duffy scream around third base. And granted, he's one of the fastest guys on the team. Did you see that one MLB graphic where they actually have the path that each runner took, either on the base paths or if it's like a diving catch in the outfield, and they know the distance traveled and the time it took, and they calculate their speed? He reached a top speed of 20.5 miles per hour.
Damn!
As he ran third base.
That's pretty sweet. He was low flying, dude. I mean, he was coming around that thing hard, and he really turned it on about 3 steps after he came around when he really saw the go signal from Flannery. I mean, he really got into gear.
To put that in context, we had Lorenzo Cain just making sick catches in the outfield this postseason so far for the Royals, and that dude is fast. One of his catches, they said, he reached a top speed of 21 miles per hour, and that was the fastest they've ever clocked for a baseball player. And I'm thinking Matt Duffy was a half a mile an hour slower than him coming around third. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
And granted, the only reason he had that opportunity to score besides his speed was the fact that it was a full count with 2 outs. And so the runners got to take off on the delivery. And so he had an extra, 6, 7 steps already.
That's also smart base running. It's not just speed.
That's what you're always trained to do. Just don't get picked off. Make sure he commits to the plate, and then you just bust balls and just see what happens. And that's exactly why you do that, because in that situation, if it was a 2-2 pitch, he wouldn't have scored.
There was a lot of things going on that play. One being the fact that, yes, Panic had worked the full count. The other being that Rosenthal was a little wild. And the third, and Duffy being really fast. And then you also got the fact that you don't have Yadier behind the plate anymore. So I think there's a lot of things that kind of went into that play actually working out exactly as it did. But that was one of the most exciting plays that I can remember in Giants postseason.
What was the last time you remember somebody getting 2 bases on a pass ball?
It's been a long time.
But you knew it was possible right away.
Right.
I was up off my couch screaming, I think, before Duffy even probably hit the bag at third, going, "Oh my God, he can score on this."
Because we all knew that the guy was running on the ball.
Right.
And Cruz lost it.
And as soon as Cruz looked to the right rather than look to the left, he saw it bounce left.
That was it.
So I was like, okay, he's going to score here. And we were all going crazy the whole way, especially when he hit the bag. He hit the bag with so much speed. He made a perfect round of third as well. Like, he didn't take the big long one that takes extra time. I mean, he was on the inside of that bag.
Yeah,
it was really, really well done from Duffy. And I don't think any of us thought of Duffy as like that's your pinch running weapon, right?
No, like
he's
Duffy
not
was
the
not my Darren Ford of the year. Yeah, exactly.
But maybe he is. I don't know. I mean, we all thought that Gary Brown was going to do stuff like that, but maybe Duffy's the guy. And Duffy's been incredible in the role he's had as in the Giants.
Duffy had a surprising number of stolen bases in the minors this year, or the last couple of years, from what I remember reading from either Baggs or Pavlovich. Just like, wait, how fast has he been going? Wait, how much? Not that much, and
So, Chad, what were you going to say?
Smart. Yeah.
I think if you saw all of the permutations, all the possible ways that you can score in a baseball game, and I think there's probably a good 1,000 weird ways to score.
Sure.
You take all the least likely ways to score and put them in a bag, and that's what the Giants are doing. They're just drawing out of this bag going, no, today we're going to score from second base on a wild pitch. Oh, now we're going to score on a bases-loaded walk. Oh, here's another one. It's just they are not scoring in conventional ways, and the fact that they're 5-2 in this postseason so far, and really could have won both of the other games, except for a couple of mistakes either in location or Bumgarner's throw down the line. They could be a perfect 7-0 and not hitting at all because they're not hitting, they're not scoring in conventional ways because their pitching is absolutely doing this, and they're taking advantage of all the mistakes that the other teams are making. So
yeah, exactly. They're playing good defense, good pitching, and that's the recipe, right? So, all right, Ben, who is your new favorite guy?
I got to go with an old favorite, new favorite guy, and that's Madison Bumgarner. I mean,
good
just
choice.
And somebody at work I was talking to pointed out, he's one of the only touted aces in the postseason that just hasn't been completely rocked. I mean, he kind of made his own bed in the game that he lost, but at the same time, like, he hasn't been really just offensively just rocked. I'm gonna knock on wood right now, but he's been the model of consistency, and he has probably, out of the people that are really touted as his aces, some of them are a little bit more conventional in ways, certainly, but Bumgarner has the crazy behind the back 3/4 left-handed delivery. I mean, and he's making it work for him really well. It's not just about the how, but it's also the what. And the results have been really strong from Bumgarner in a consistent way that almost nobody else in the postseason, much less even on the Giants pitching staff, which has been pretty remarkably good, all things considered. Nobody else can match what Bumgarner is doing to hitters and what he's been doing to hitters since 2010 in the postseason.
No, absolutely. He's the article, "The Last Day Standing," was really fun read, and if anybody hasn't seen that, check it out.
Looking that up.
Yeah, it's a testament to this guy. He doesn't get the same kind of credit that somebody like Kershaw gets at all, but consistently over this last 5 years in the postseason runs, he's definitely been one of the best guys around. So yeah, great pick. Eric, who you got?
I don't know. I think I might have used him already recently, but Travis Ishikawa, because I feel like Bochy is getting more credit.
Jen is like freaking out right now.
Really?
Yeah, she loves Ishikawa.
Lefty first baseman.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's funny because that's why I love him, because what he's been able to do in left field. It's like Bochy gets all this credit for making the move to put him out there, but everybody forgets that this guy has trained all his life to play one particular position, and the Giants have said, "Here,
not the one
go
he's
play
in
this
now.
Other position in the middle of the most pressure-packed baseball you're gonna play," and he's done it. He's come through with the bat. He's come through in the field. He could limited the damage on I think it was Bumgarner's throw down the line. He was able to dig it out a little quicker, I think, than
that's right. He was in good position. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he was flying in there. He's made a couple nice plays, and he made that diving catch in game one where we saw he was completely laid out.
And his arm has been great out there too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been like so surprising. And it's funny because I was clamoring for Mike Morse, but I'm totally okay with Travis because the guy is just flooring me right now. It's to train to do one thing and to do something else and to do it in the heat of the moment he's doing it. That's a testament to him as an athlete. And it's kind of why the Giants win.
Yeah, the guy's nails out there for sure. Great pick. I'm going to go with Joe Panic because the clutch walk has become our biggest offensive weapon this postseason.
Yep. Between him and Bell.
He's the guy who keeps bringing it. He's been up now a couple times with 2 outs in the 9th inning and gotten that walk, and it's led to us. Unfortunately, this time it didn't lead to a win, but it's led to us tying up the game. We're taking the lead. So Panic has just proven to the team and proven to the city of San Francisco that he could be the second baseman of the future. And we did not expect to see him this soon. We maybe thought as soon as Scudero's contract was over, he would get his shot, but it looks like that's not the way things are working out. And Panic's going to be here for a while.
The future is today.
Exactly. All right, let's hate on some people now. Now we've loved some of our guys. Let's hate some other people. I'm going to go ahead and just start this off because I just want to bring this up. What's up with the curtain calls and solo shots in the 3rd inning? Not only that, but then they curtain called every single home run after that. And, I'm not one who's like, all these unwritten rules need to stay intact or whatever, but it's a little bit annoying to curtain call every single home run. And I think the Giants have to be noticing this and going, like, are you serious right now? This isn't, this isn't the moment that just won you the ball game. This is a 3rd inning solo shot, and you're going to curtain call this. It just seems to be a little excessive.
I'll say 2 things about that, though. One is the Cardinals just have not had a lot of power this season. Especially guys like Tavares. I was texting one of my friends who's a Cards fan after he hit that shot. She was just like, "That's what we've been waiting for him to do all year." The Cards haven't had this kind of offense for most of the year, so I do think that there is a bit of a gut reaction to that. Yeah, is it overdone? Probably a little bit, but I think
all
that's
three of
where
them
it comes from.
it's definitely overdone.
But look at when all three of them happened. They were all go ahead or tying shots for the most part.
Yeah, but they're all in the middle of the game. I mean,
but they were all tying or go ahead shots.
It doesn't matter. Like if the Giants player hits a third inning solo shot and then takes a curtain call and be like, all right, dude, we didn't need that yet. Like that's not time for this yet.
Sure.
And I get excitement. But as the players, they should probably go like, and they showed the dugout. Guys were like telling them, get out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course people are cheering, but the Cardinals players were like, go take the curtain call. And it's just, to me, it's a little bit much. And I also disagreed with stopping the game for 12 minutes when Barry Bonds hit his 500th home run. I think that over celebrating something is just bad form. It's just disrespectful, And
I will say something that came up in the ALCS is, the Royals. I mean, they're young, they're enthusiastic, they got a ton of just kind of infectious enthusiasm. If you're not a fan of either team, but they are really enthusiastic on runs, home runs. They'll jump, bounce out of the dugout, bounce around, scream. They're like about this far from chest bumping each other. And for me as a fan who's watching, who isn't invested in either team, it's interesting to see. It's kind of fun. But for the Orioles, when asked about that, it wasn't so much anything about an unwritten rule or respect the game. It's, well, then you got to stop them from doing that, and that's really where the Giants are.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. They don't get to do calls if they don't hit home runs. So
exactly. So I mean, unless you're going to shut them down from doing that, you kind of have to take what they give you.
So do you guys think that if the Giants hit a solo shot in the bottom of the third tomorrow, you're going to have some sarcastic Giants fans standing up and getting
plenty of Giants fans are going to call for the curtain call? Absolutely, because as a fan, we're taking these lumps with the team, and when we're watching the other team celebrate like that for 1-0 lead in the third. Yeah, absolutely. I mean. Yeah, I'm going to ask for a curtain call when we score on the wild pitch because fuck that. That's the only way we score.
They say the Cardinals fans are the best in baseball and they're most knowledgeable in baseball. You don't do that in the third inning.
No, you don't.
Even if it's Game 7 of the World Series, you don't do that. It's insane.
No, there's a lot of baseball to be played. It's not time to start celebrating a solo shot, Eric, I think you were going to say something, but
well, I was going to say it's kind of on Carpenter, but you guys kind of went past it, so totally good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Carpenter started the train.
Well, it's just like, why couldn't he be a pro and not go out? Had he just been a pro and been like, nah, man, it's the third inning, dude. I'm not going back out there. Then I don't think it would have continued so much. Tavares, not necessarily. Adams, I got no problem with.
No, that was a big call.
Yeah, I got no problem with him with a curtain call. Even Tavares, maybe. But Carpenter's got to be a better pro than that, man. You've been there before. Act like it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think he was the one who really just got it going. And after that, every single home run, it was like, well, we've broken the dam on this. Like, now it's curtain calls for these,
like
right?
Cardinals fans are a bunch of woo girls.
Yeah. A lot of people made the point in the subreddit, which was, scoring against the Giants might be curtain call worthy at this point because it's been so hard for teams to do it. But it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of annoying. And it's like, I don't mind players getting fired up. Pagan does his little salute to his teammates and all that kind of stuff. And Romo points to the sky and screams and yells. And PV is always screaming, yelling. But I feel like more of that is like to my teammates and not like in the face of the other team, And I think when you do it kind of in the face of the other team, like at that point, the next guy is at the plate, and there's baseball happening again. But yet we have to watch this guy like come out and tip his hat. It just kind of takes away from the moment of, okay, baseball's still happening. It's 1-0. Let's keep going now.
All right, I got a mission for anyone going to the game tomorrow.
Okay.
Go to Walmart, buy I'd say about 200 or 300 pairs of panties. Stuff them in your backpack. Pass them out to your local fans there behind the dugout. And any home run the Giants hit, hell, they even score a run. You just fling that shit out on the
shower the field.
Shower them with panties in the third inning.
Oh my god! Unfortunately, you'll probably get kicked out for that. So I don't know if I'm going to get behind
No,
that.
I don't think we want to see the entire like lower box section behind the dugout get kicked out of the game one at a time.
No, it'd be a little
It's
bit
going to
of
look really weird on the TV cameras. It's like, oh look, and then behind the dugout, there's that one dude that didn't remember to bring his.
He's still there. Yeah.
He's it. He's still there, cheering like a maniac.
All right,
Good
Ben,
job.
you got somebody to hate on, don't you?
Yeah, I just can't with these announcers, dude. I can't. Like, I don't even hate on the like. Yeah, and obviously for me, the cap tip was less of a like the curtain call was less of a big deal for me. Clearly, it sounds like out of the set of us, but I'm not really hating on any Cardinals players right now because other than the dumb mistakes which they're occasionally making, we've made some dumb pitching mistakes. They're playing their asses off, but the announcers, dude, I just can't. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
You don't.
They
sit
are
there
kind of
on-
open rooting for the Cardinals, and it's.
You know what the funny thing is? So I'm going to put this out there. Cardinals fans are saying that they're doing nothing but talking up the Giants, and so that's finally led me to say, you know what? I don't think they're biased. I think they just suck at their jobs.
Probably, yeah.
I'm not even going to say they're biased anymore because honestly, they've said some decent things about the Cards. They've said some really dumb things about the Cards. They said some decent things about the Giants and some really, really dumb things about the Giants.
Well,
Harold
Harold Reynolds watching Yadier Molina catch a pop-up was painfully cringeworthy.
Yeah,
I mean, he's just like, look at this guy. He's so cool.
But
He has a
that's
cool
just-
car. It's like, what are you talking about? dude?
My issue isn't with them, basically like bending over backwards to see how far down Yachty's pants they can get. Like Yachty's a good catcher, so whatever, fine. But oh my God, Harold Reynolds, have you act like you've been there before? Have you never been on television? Oh wait, you have, but not as an announcer. Not often. Like you stand on TV and your job is to say dumb things like that. And okay, that's fine. They tune in for you in that situation, but this isn't about that. And
I
honestly,
almost miss Tim McCarver.
no.
I said almost.
Okay, I'll take an almost. I mean, Tim McCarver got a frick, and he probably deserved it at the time that he got it. But by last year, just frying pan me in the head, dude. Frying pan right to the skull. And that's actually about pretty much how I feel about Harold Reynolds. Like, you know what? Though I will say, I was absolutely impressed by Harold Reynolds' ability to do one thing: make me forget that Joe Buck was the other guy on the announcing crew.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I was like, dude, would you just stop talking?
I wish
Oh
that.
my God!
Here's what I want them to do, and I think I've talked about this on the show.
Muscle on
before.
Harold Reynolds.
Well, yeah, but I think what they really need to do is they need to get one national guy, and I don't care if that guy sucks or not, because what they do is they get one national guy, and then they get like John Miller and then some guy from the Cardinals, and then that's your booth, because then you have a guy from who's been around each team the entire season and knows the ins and outs of that team, and you have one national guy to kind of run the show.
Well, they're trying to integrate that on the TBS one. When the guys in the booth kick it down to the sides, for the Orioles, they've got Mike Bordick, who is one of their radio guys. And for the Royals, they got some guy's name I can't remember because he wasn't, an ex-player that we all remember like Bordick, also because they've been around the teams. So they cut to them, like when we see Amy G. When they cut to these guys, they're coming in with stuff, well, I've been around the team and this has been his tendency here and stuff like that. TBS is starting to do that, actually.
Yeah, I think that's
respect
great.
that.
I would like to see it in the booth, though, too, because then as the game goes on, you've got actual stories that can be told about these guys and these players and what's going on with this team.
In fairness, it's kind of a shame that TBS has the rights for all the American League stuff because I feel like they've done a better job with their broadcasts, with their integration of tech, their willingness to kind of help support some stuff with MLB at bat. I feel better about the way that TBS has gone about that than I've ever felt about Fox.
Also, your grandparents actually know how to find TBS. I don't know if you guys have heard these stories, but people are like, they don't know where to find the game. Like, Fox Sports 1, what is that? Is that a channel I have? I don't even know that exists. All right, Chad, what do you got for us?
I agree. TBS has probably been doing a better job than Fox, but man, I cannot watch another game on TBS with my kids in the room.
Oh, yeah?
Trying to watch a game, and every commercial is that 90-second commercial with that 40-something cougar who's talking about, erectile dysfunction.
A lot of Cialis commercials
A
going
lot of
on.
Cialis
Yeah.
commercials.
Yeah.
And when it was on one time, I was in the kitchen. My daughter actually asked me what that was all about. And so that was kind of an embarrassing moment.
You're like, you don't have to worry about it. You don't
I just had to brush it off.
That's the upside of
Aren't kids watching these broadcasts? I know that's not their main demo, but holy shit.
Never been so happy about having MLB.TV in my life as I am right now that you said that.
I also want to point something else out because you mentioned TBS's commercials, but Yadier Molina, they were showing him being taken off the field. They also decided that was a good time to put an ad on just right there on the screen. And it felt like, and this player injury, potentially season ending, is brought to you by Corn Nuts. It was just so bizarre to me that they chose that moment to pop a commercial up on the screen.
I'm sure St. Louis really appreciated that.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Moment for this player.
Thank you for doing something to distract me from the image of our biggest superstar player getting carted off the field.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. All right, let's finish this podcast off with one of our favorite segments, my favorite segment, which is, of course, Why We Will Win It All. And we're going to go ahead and open with you, Chad. What you got for us? Why are we going to win it all?
Well, we've talked a little bit about it tonight, but the Giants are playing clean baseball, cleaner than their opponents. They are not making the same mistakes. They're not making the errors. They're not throwing balls in the dirt with 2 outs in the ninth. They're not doing that stuff. So I just think that if they still continue to capitalize on those mistakes and they shut the door on their own mistakes, that in itself is going to enable them to win all of these tight torture games. And that's what's going to take them to their third title.
I love it. All right, Ben.
Let's see. I'm actually going to go ahead and say that I'm going to fall off of what Chad says. The Giants are being cockroaches. They are coming up with the weirdest ways to score, but the reason that they're coming up with these weirdest ways has a lot to do with they're putting the ball in play and they're giving the other team opportunities to make mistakes, opportunities to have the one weird thing that happens that you cut down on when you don't let the ball get in play nearly as often happen. You know, John Jay jumps at a fly ball and drops it. That doesn't happen that often. Jay is not a bad defender for the most part. But because the Giants have put a bunch of balls in play, eventually one of them was going to go towards a gap. One of them was going to be in a position that was much harder for Jay to field. And one of them was going to be at an angle where he had to land and it was going to pop out of his glove. It's more common when you're putting the ball in play, and it's more common that they're taking advantage of that and paying attention. And it's the same thing that everybody says the Giants are lucky. And, well, yeah. Okay. I mean, Hunter Pence does not hit a ball off of his bat 3 times when it breaks every day. But at the same time, it's also that when that stuff happens, the Giants have been able to take advantage and capitalize. Matt Duffy's base running has been outstanding. Matt Duffy's hitting has actually not been half bad. Hunter Pence has been able to leg out a lot of infield hits that he wouldn't have otherwise because he's able to kind of really take advantage of forcing the defense to make a play. I mean, the Giants aren't doing well with runners in scoring position at hitting, but they are doing a good job of taking advantage of the opportunities that the Cardinals are occasionally presenting to them. Because if you don't do that, if you let those opportunities slide, you've got nothing at this point, and they are really capitalizing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the next one and let Eric take us home here. I'm going to say that the Giants are not going to give up 4 home runs every game. This game was an aberration. And I don't also believe that Bochy will be I think we've seen the end of Bochy being just a little too stubborn with guys like Strickland, and I think we're going to see a much shorter rope. He's gonna manage like it's the last game every single time from here on out because that's just the way. That's his style. That's how the history of Bochy as a manager has been to manage in that respect. So, the Cardinals don't win this game if they don't hit 4 home runs, which is I think the thing you take away, and that's something that's very rare and does not happen very often and probably won't happen again. So that's not going to happen again. Giants are going to win because we're the ones scratching the runs out. And the Cardinals are going to they're relying on stuff like 4 home runs. And I'm sorry, but you can't rely on that. You're going to have to figure out other ways to score. And I don't think they have it in them. So they're going to win because they are going to scratch the runs out that the other team cannot. All right, Eric, why are we going to win it all?
I think they're going to win it all because from the top to the bottom, Giants fans don't hate me and think I'm a jinx if it goes wrong, but I think they're the new Yankees. I think from the top on down, from the way ownership approaches, I mean, not as crazy as George was, was, but from Sabian like Cashman to Bochy like Torre to the use of a bullpen to having a captain on the field to having a core group of players that know how to get it done, they just strike me as the new Yankees. And like Sunday night where St. Louis hit those 4 home runs you're talking about, that's going to be the highlight of their season. You know, I'm so confident that the Giants can continue to get it done because they are the new Yankees from top to bottom. They just know how to get it done when they're in the meaningful situations. It's a blueprint that's been laid out that they're trying to duplicate, and I think they're doing a damn fine job of it, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, Sabian came from there, so he knows the deal. Yeah,
he was a scouting director there, and that seems to be what is big with them.
I mean, a lot of people are going to hear that and they're going to say, "What?" But we don't hit for a bunch of power, and we don't have the best closer
right porch
history or whatever. But the thing, it's not about that. It's about professionalism from the top to the bottom, and I totally agree. The Giants absolutely have that. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode 74. Real quick, don't expand on it. Just give us your just prediction, real quick. So, Chad, prediction for the series?
Giants in 6.
All right, Eric.
Giants in 6.
All right, Ben.
I'm gonna say Giants in 7. I think that the Cardinals aren't gonna let it go easy.
Okay, I'm gonna say Giants in 6 as well because that's how we roll around here. Giants in 6 or 7, according to us here, but Giants all the way, and I love it. If you guys want to follow us, you can follow us collectively or at TortureCast on Twitter. Each one of us individually, you can also follow. Chad is at ChadK21, Ben is at Fried Duck, and I am at Willie Dills. Eric is at 2 Out Hits with the number 2. You can also check out Eric's blog, which is 2outhits.com, right?
Yep.
Not the net? Okay, good. Yeah. I always have to double check, but yeah, I just have it bookmarked, so I don't ever type it in.
Yeah, and there's new stuff up there, so if anybody I've written between these 2 games, so people can check it out.
Awesome. Everybody go check that out. Also, Chad recently posted a cool video displaying for all the world his man cave, his Giants man/fan cave, and pretty cool little video. So everybody
man cave, if you will.
The man cave,
the G-man cave.
It's pretty sweet, dude, and everybody should go check that out. It's on the YouTube, so you can find it on TortureCast.com, which is of course another way to catch the show. We're also on Stitcher, on the iTunes. Like us on Facebook. We're gonna be tweeting like hell over the next couple weeks. Hopefully the Giants will be playing baseball for a couple more weeks, and we're all having a blast. We'll be watching the game tomorrow. Just keep tweeting back at us. Everybody let us know, what you guys are thinking. If you have questions for us, and we'll do another show next week. Hopefully we'll have more guests on, and go Giants, man. This is exciting. This is the most exciting time of the year, and I feel blessed to be able to talk about it with these 3 guys here tonight. So thank you guys for being with me. I'm Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, Eric Nathanson. That's it for TortureCast 74. We'll see you next time. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at TortureCast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.